Hello everyone, my name is Amber Kaljumagi, and today I'm going to show you how to build a Jiggybot. For this experiment, you're going to need a Jiggybot circuit board, some wires, a motor, a switch, an LED light, a resistor, a coin battery, and a battery case. You also need some soldering wire, and of course, the soldering iron, and some decorations just for fun. First thing that you want to do is insert the resistor to the front of the circuit board. The front side of the circuit board is going to have all of the writing and shapes, while the back of the circuit board is going to be blank. On the front of the circuit board, you'll see an area labeled R1. Go ahead and bend the leads on the resistor and insert them into the holes around this area. Turn it over and solder to the back. These silver places on the circuit board are called the pads, and this is where we want to do our soldering. In order to solder, take the soldering iron and touch it down to the silver pad for just a moment, then bring in the solder, touch the solder to the soldering iron, and melt on a little bead. You want to make sure that you wipe off your soldering iron on the sponge in between soldering. This will help keep it clear and make for better heat transfer. So one more time. We're going to go ahead and touch the tip of the soldering iron to the silver pad, bring in the solder, and melt on a little bead. It should only take a moment to get that bead melted. And our resistor is soldered firmly into place. Now we can go ahead and trim off the extra long leads. Just take some wire trimmers and cut right above the soldering bead. Now we're going to do the same thing for the switch. Find the area on the circuit board labeled SW. Insert the 3 leads of the switch into the 3 holes, turn over, and solder to the back. It is important to note that when you're soldering with a lead-based solder, you want to do so in a well-ventilated area. Touch the soldering iron to the pad, touch the solder to the iron, and melt on a quick little bead of solder. Now our switch is firmly soldered into place. Next, we want to go ahead and solder on the motor. Find the area on the circuit board labeled M1. Insert the leads into the holes and flip over to solder. Here you'll notice that my holes are a lot closer together than they've been so far. When soldering, it's important to make sure that each soldering bead stands independently. If they were connected, then we may have electricity going to places that we don't necessarily want it to go. So each little bead that I'm soldering here is going to stand independently of the one right next to it. Next, we want to solder on the LED. The LED is going to be a little bit trickier because it has a long lead and a short lead. We will make sure that the long lead goes into the round hole. So if you go ahead and find the area labeled D1 on the front of the circuit board, you'll see a round hole and a square hole. The long lead is going to go into the round hole. Push it all the way in, turn it over, and solder to the back. Trimming off those extra long leads just above the soldering beads. Now we have everything firmly soldered to the front of the circuit board. Our last piece is the battery case, and this, unlike the others, is going to be soldered to the back of the circuit board. If we turn the circuit board over, we can see that there is a positive and a negative sign on the circuit board. We will make sure that the nubby side of our battery case is facing the positive side. Sometimes it can be helpful to use a piece of tape to help hold things in place for when you want to solder. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape here. And now I don't have to worry about it wiggling around while I'm trying to solder it into place. Iron tip to pad, solder to iron, and a quick little bead of solder. And with that, the body of our Jiggybot is complete. Everything has been soldered firmly into place. So now it's time to give it a quick test before we start decorating. Now that we know that our Jiggybot works, it's time to start decorating. Go ahead and take the 4 wires that we're going to use for the Jiggybot's legs and strip off about a centimeter or so of the wire. This leaves a nice metal part, clear for soldering. If you look at the circuit board, you will see several pads and holes around the border of the board. At this point, everything for the Jiggybot has been completed, and so soldering on the legs and whatnot is just part decoration. So we can go ahead and insert the wire legs into any one of these holes. I think I'll do this one. Soldering on the legs is nice because we can get a clear view of what soldering should look like. When we turn it over to the back, we should see a little bit of the solder has come through the holes, but that our plastic coating to the wire has not been melted. We came in quickly, we soldered it on, but not stay long enough for it to start melting the circuit board. Now that all of the wire legs are into place, we can shape them and begin decorating. I think I'll give this Jiggybot some silver antennae and some beautiful blue eyes. For the decorations, we don't need to solder. Some simple glue will do the trick. A little bit of glue. And there we go. Our adorable Jiggybot is complete.